Our panelists, CNN political commentator and Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell, Democratic strategist Mike Morey, a former communications director for Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, Jeff Balaban, member of Donald J. Trump for President Advisory Board, and Kevin Sheridan, former senior advisor to Mitt Romney's presidential campaign. Michael, Paul Ryan, he's now on the record, and he's on the record pretty succinctly saying, look, Mueller's not being fired. The White House promised me he wasn't being fired. Do you still think that there's a chance that the president will toss Mueller under the bus and put Paul Ryan under the wheels?
For anyone who thinks that there's not a chance that Donald Trump will light off a bomb at any given moment, it's clearly not been paying attention for the last 16 months. I think there's entirely possible that Donald Trump could at any given moment do something as silly as that. It would be silly. I'm glad to see both Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell finally coming out and saying that would be a mistake, but they have not been willing to take real action to make sure that the president can't do that.
You think they've not gone far enough?
I don't think they've gone far enough.
To do it legally?
I think that they need to actually take responsibility as leaders of Congress and ensure that Robert Mueller is able to do his investigation. And the way they can do that is to actually pass something in both their chambers that would hold the president accountable and not allow him to actually fire the special counsel. Because if they think for a second that the president's counsel saying that they won't fire the special counsel is indicative of anything, then they haven't been paying attention.
Jeff, strategy on the part of the president, he's had enough, not going to take it anymore. I want a new legal team, and I want them to start defending me in public.
Well, this whole discussion is really untethered to any kind of reality. In other words, the discussion of whether or not Mueller is going to be fired is created, and it's a complete fiction created by the media. There's no evidence to suggest anything like it. It's a complete fiction. So we're talking about rumors that the media starts and speculates on and then tries to push people to make their own political hay about it.
The president starts these rumors, not the media.
He has not started the rumors. The president
He's tweeted nonstop
he has never once suggested he was going to fire Mueller. Never once.
He said the whole thing was corrupt.
That's correct. And the whole thing is corrupt. And that's what we're seeing. The whole thing is corrupt. Corruption, vast corruption, which, by the way, was found by
the implication really being he would like to
by the
take
Department of Justice,
action.
by an Obama appointee, found that there was vast corruption. McCabe and others, this is very corrupt.
This is part of a strategy to undermine the president. You're doing a great job of it right now, too.
If you're suggesting that he should be firing Mueller, that's interesting.
I'm suggesting the president should be quiet.
Kevin, get in here.
Here's the bottom line. The investigators have done their own job undermining themselves where they've done stupid things repeatedly and made put Donald Trump in a position where he actually has an argument with some people. That said, President Trump is not going to fire Mueller. I'm guessing. You can always speculate that he could do something crazy at any given time, but it's simply not in his best interest to do it. He's going to follow. I think he's going to take more of a Bill Clinton approach to this. He's going to get louder on TV with some of his defenders. I think Joe Genova is going to be doing that in part. And he'll probably bring in other people. And I think he's going to take the same tactic that Bill Clinton did 20 years ago. And he won.
And there is proof now that he is not afraid of engaging Russia even. I want you to listen to Sarah Sanders now about what she said in terms of defending the fact that he actually reached out to Vladimir Putin today. Take a listen.
In terms of the election, we're focused on our elections. We don't get to dictate how other countries operate. What we do know is that Putin has been elected in their country, and that's not something that we can dictate to them how they operate.
Catherine, not good enough for John McCain. He came out very forcefully saying, what is he doing here? That this is a disgrace. He said that on Twitter, but also, is it good enough for Britain that just had what may amount to an act of war on their own soil, not to mention the other allies that are trying to figure out a way to actually isolate Russia even more, not hold hands.
No, it's not good enough for anyone who cares about promoting American values, democratic values abroad. I mean, I think we should point out that Sarah Sanders quote that we just heard was in response to a question not of, do we have the power to dictate how other countries run themselves, but do you think this was a free and fair election? And she could not even explicitly answer a question to characterize this election, which many believe was a sham election given the way that it was led. And the many enemies of Putin who have faced retaliation of various kinds. So the question that she had to answer was just, was this a democratic election? And she couldn't even answer that. I mean, that suggests that this administration is not interested in playing tough with Russia.
Kevin, I want to get you in here. You know, there are suggestions that your former boss, Mitt Romney, didn't get the state job because Russia didn't want him in there. How do you feel about all this? He's reaching out to Putin at a time when, you know, Theresa May wants Trump to get in there and throttle Putin, not shake hands with him.
Yeah, I don't buy that on the Russians blocking Mitt Romney being appointed to Secretary of State. But look, this president in actions has actually been tougher in a lot of ways than the previous administration was on Russia. And well, start from the 2012 campaign, which was an official position of the Democratic Party and President Obama to mock Mitt Romney for his saying that, you know, Russia is a #1 geopolitical threat. We can take that all the way through every other thing that happened after that, letting them into the Middle East, which was definitely against our interests, not giving lethal arms to the Ukrainians, you know, unilaterally killing missile defense in Poland, which Donald Trump has done all of those things. So in every step that he's done, the one thing that he doesn't do, he doesn't speak out against Russia as harshly as a lot of people want to. I don't know why he doesn't do that, but in actions, he's much stronger.
Mike, I want you in here. You know, Kevin makes some very good points about what the Obama administration did or didn't want to do. We don't want to go back there. But going forward, isn't there a point to be made for engagement?
There used to be a thing in the United States of America, whether you were a Democrat or a Republican, and people believed in American exceptionalism and the right of free and fair elections, democracy abroad, this notion that we sort of represented what is good about government and good about political process. The fact that the President of the United States is unable to even, in fact, basically congratulates Putin for a sham election in which he reinstalled himself as president, you know, goes out and gives compliments to the sort of president for life of China for appointing himself for life, talks about dictators across the globe as if there's something to be modeled and appreciated, the murder of drug dealers in other countries.
I'm sorry.
I mean, this is not America. This is not America. This is not how Democrats behave, Republicans behave. We have always stood for free and fair elections.
This is outrageous. This is outrageous. The fact is, President Trump is much tougher on Vladimir Putin and Russia than President Obama ever was. You don't like that in a phone call he didn't say, but you don't even know what he said. You don't like what he said is not what you want him to say. The fact is that under President Obama, the Iranian people rose up to cast off their oppressors, and President Obama crushed them. Do not talk about freedom abroad and American exceptionalism abroad. President Obama crushed the idea of American exceptionalism abroad, and President Trump is bringing it back. The fact is he's dealing much more toughly with Vladimir Putin than Obama dealt with anyone else in the world. The fact is North Korea is coming to heel because of President Trump, not because of President Obama. Under President Obama, nuclear weapons went off.
We are getting a taste of 2020 already.